What is up, guys? I forgot to unmute my mic there, but I was trying to do a cool transition there. But yeah, it's like we got a couple people in the YouTube, a couple people in the LinkedIn as well. I just want to check if everything's going smoothly, but I think everything is. Right now, we're streaming to YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and Twitch as well. So it's like everything's going good. But thank you guys for joining this stream. So today, as the title states, we're going to be doing a panel discussion with a couple of folks who, most of them actually, pretty much all of them I know personally, who have transitioned from Helpdesk into the field of cybersecurity, and they're going to be sharing everything about their experience, how they did it, their backgrounds, what they learned in the process, and just basically like advice on how anyone out there who might be looking to do this sort of transition can also do it as well. So that being said, I'm going to bring in all of the folks on into the stage. Let's go. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Looking good, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Fantastic. It's
well.
Friday.
Awesome. Happy Fridays, everyone.
Awesome. Happy Friday. Also, we have a whole order of how we're gonna do things. So we're gonna go like according to everyone here. So we're gonna have Dion go first. We're gonna have David next, Jonathan, Courtney, and then 10-6. So essentially, we have a couple of questions and just different things that we're gonna go over in regards to your background and all of that stuff. So that being said, let's start with introductions, and I'm gonna have you, Dion, start first, and then go in that order. So how's it going, Dion?
It's going great. What's up, everybody? My name is Reginald Dion Wilkerson II. Most people call me Dion, but I'm currently an information security analyst at Security 360, and I started my tech journey roughly about 3 years ago. So happy to be here.
Cool. Thanks, Dion. Let's have you go next, David.
Happy to be here, guys. My name is David. My tag is No Fatigue. Started my IT journey in IT support October of 2022. So about to come up on 2 years of overall IT, but I've been in cyber for about 10 months now. Yeah, really happy to be here.
Cool. Thanks, David. Let's have you, Jonathan, go next. Introduction about yourself.
All right. What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan. I've been in IT and cybersecurity for about 12 years now. Started with an internship in college, working at a local distribution center. That's where I learned what IT was, where Active Directory is, that sort of stuff. And then I moved into a help desk role after college for a couple of years, and then into a system administrator role at a cybersecurity consulting firm. And that's where I started picking up a lot of the security stuff, transitioned into security analyst and security operations centers type stuff. And now I work as a detection and response engineer.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. Let's have you go next, Courtney. Introduction about yourself.
Happy Friday, everyone. Great to be here. As far as being on this panelist, it has definitely been a journey for me. I am a career changer. We from back in 2022, so I've been actually in IT and cyber for about 2 years now. I was doing IT support for a year, and then got the opportunity to transition into cyber. Originally, when I first got in, I was doing more so GRC for about 4 months, and then made the exciting transition to as a SOC analyst tier 1. So definitely an exciting journey, and I'm looking forward to pivot my job.
Awesome. And then we're gonna have you go next, Jalen. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Jalen, also known as 10-6 for some people. Started my journey about a year and a half ago, starting with a kind of like a help desk kind of systems administrator kind of hybrid type of role. Made my transition into the security industry with some engineering positions with CDW about 9 months ago now. So now I'm working as a SIM engineer, specifically more so with Splunk. So really happy to be here and talk about it with you all.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for going through that. So let's just get right into it in regards to your backgrounds and your transitions, starting with you, Dion. What is like, if you were to distill your story from going from help desk to cybersecurity, what was that journey like? From working at a help desk or IT support kind of role, to then transition to cybersecurity. Very briefly, if you may.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it real brief. So basically, I started in IT support with a telecom company, and basically, I knew that I wanted to be in cyber from day one. So I basically just needed that to get my foot in the door with tech in general. But while there, I made the most of it. So basically, what I mean by that is, for instance, we were on the SLA, and so we had to close like 7 tickets a day. But I would always go above and beyond. So I'm closing like 15 to 20 tickets a day, just to set myself apart from the rest of everybody else. But fast forward a little bit, maybe 6 months to a year at doing the tech support role, I was offered a TAM position. So I didn't really want to take it at first, but I was like, hey, the more experience, the better. So I did take the TAM position. And then fast forward, I stayed in that position probably about 6 months. Fast forward a little bit more. What helped me get that TAM position was I went ahead and got my Network Plus CompTIA certification. And I knew that it was going to help me with the job. So that was the given. Anything that could help me get the job done, and also I can be certified in it. Why not? So I went ahead and did that. And then fast forward, my current manager, he reached out to me via LinkedIn, and that's kind of how I transitioned into cyber, being very brief.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks for giving the high level. And I know we're gonna go deeper into like some specific things you said, like certifications or like networking and all that stuff. But moving on to David, like, what was that journey like? Very briefly, from you going from help desk, tech support, IT support into cybersecurity.
Yeah, so I found out about IT and cyber as a career path really from my sister. It didn't really come to my attention like I'm going to commit to this until I was 26. I'm 28 now, right? So I didn't know what I didn't know. So like I didn't even know all the different jobs, networking, cloud, like I didn't know any of it. So my journey started off with a whole bunch of research. Your channel day being a primary influencer. So I knew I needed to get some IT experience. Like I knew I kept hearing it that getting to cybersecurity was going to be difficult. I already anticipated that. So and at the time I was unemployed. So finances was a heavy motivator for me. I was like, let's get in, let's start getting IT experience. We'll continue moving on from there. I was unemployed, so I got all the time in the world. I studied the A plus, knocked it out in 3 weeks. Played the videos on 1.5 speed and grind practice exams. A week after, of course, again, I researched how to write a resume because I haven't written a resume in years. A week after I started applying, I got my first offer letter at a phone center type of IT support. Not too much physical, not too much, no driving around, not the technician type, just phone support. Pick it up, finish the call, bang. I have about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to close out that ticket before it starts ringing again. I already knew and had my eyes set on higher income. So I was really open to networking, cloud, or cyber, but cyber being the first preferential choice because of the influence from my sister. So the whole time I was working IT support, I kept upskilling, getting more certs. Just as a little rough estimation point, I had about 8 certs in about 6.5 months. At the 8-month mark, towards the end of 8 months, that was when recruiters found me, interviewed, secured the first cybersecurity analyst offer letter, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Thanks for going into that, David. Jonathan, what about you? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so I could talk a long time about my journey, but just I'll talk about the highlights from the moment that I kind of recognized what cybersecurity was and how it was an option. Very similar to David, was working the help desk after college. Phone would ring, I would be the first one to pick it up. Working for a managed service provider, MSP. You're the third-party IT company for a bunch of different businesses, so you get exposed to a lot of different environments and that sort of stuff. Sometimes have to deal with ransomware, right? So that was kind of like my foot in the door there, and that's kind of what the exposure was. And I thought that really interests me. I like resetting passwords as much as the next guy, but I want to go a little bit deeper than that. So that's when I started. Anytime either a networking or security project would pop up, I'd try and get involved in some way, whether it was directly with the customer or something behind the scenes. And that was what really allowed me to find the system administrator role that I moved into at the cybersecurity firm. Being the IT guy at a cybersecurity firm is kind of like you're exposed to all the aspects of cybersecurity all at once, because all the services that company is providing to its customers, you get to be exposed to as well. The vulnerability scans, the pen tests, all that other stuff, compliance. You're the IT person on that side of things. So it was really cool to see that, and that kind of exposed me to every realm of cybersecurity. And that's when I really decided, I want to go into security operations, that sort of stuff, and just jumped in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So from like generalist and all that stuff to then doing security specifically, that's really cool. What about you, Courtney? How was that journey like for you?
Like I said, coming from a whole different background, it was definitely more so something that I knew that I could definitely do. Starting off at the help desk role definitely opened a lot of doors for me to understand more about technology. I was doing more so of answering phone calls, working with Active Directory, resetting passwords, um, working with objects within the Windows system. So it gave me like a foundational experience, having that more so a technical working with computers. Originally, when I was first wanted to get into tech or so, I wanted to become a SOC analyst, and as we know, it's very difficult. Wanting to get into like the SOC tier 1 or SOC tier 2 or incident response is very difficult, and I felt like, let me get my foundational knowledge, let me start here. And when I was doing a lot of researching with your channel, one on Twitter, looking at Tail and Tech, Josh Madacor, they were explaining, the help desk role. So why not take a shot in that? And just from there, once I took the Security Plus, I was doing that for about 7 weeks. And the experience of having those labs with the same thing, what I was pretty much mentioned about the help desk role, resetting passwords, kind of doing all of that. I was actually had the opportunity to just like record my stuff and put it on LinkedIn. So I was like working more so on the branding department as far as that. And once 7 weeks had rolled in, a recruiter had reached out to me, got that opportunity to work for IT Help Desk, and did that for about a year. But I felt like I wanted to do something that was a little bit more challenging, where I can move up and eventually become a cybersecurity engineer. And then once I got the opportunity to go into a GRC internship, did that for a bit, got the frameworks of learning government governance and compliance. And I feel like a lot of people kind of overlook that sector a lot, because at the end of the day, it's a foundational thing. How do businesses be able to work and functional without GRC? And then the rest is pretty much history.
Gotcha. Really cool. I really love like how we're getting like diverse perspectives, like various motivations and all of that. So thanks for going into that, Courtney. What about you, Jalen? What was that journey like for you?
So my journey is a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest. I started, I want to say, or at least I piqued my interest at a buddy that was working in IT already. He talked to me about cybersecurity and kind of like, obviously everybody knows about how everyone said, oh, all the job openings are, there's going to be opportunities for people wanting to get into it. So it piqued my interest a little bit to get a little bit curious and go do some more research to get involved into it. So I kind of started with the Professor Messer videos, looking at his Security Plus certification videos, and then I got a little bit more curious, and then I started going down the rabbit hole. Ended up doing a 10-month boot camp that kind of obviously mixed reviews about boot camps, but this one in particular, I feel like it had a great concept of kind of what we needed to know from a fundamental standpoint. It taught us everything from Microsoft security and network security to, we did DFIR labs doing investigating, malware analysis, and it all crossed the whole 9 yards of everything that you could get kind of involved with in cyber. So I think I found an interest in the blue team side, specifically kind of falling in line doing Splunk labs randomly, and kind of learning that tool. Obviously, that kind of transitioned me into getting a little bit more curious about Splunk. I, found you Day as well on YouTube, kind of seeing kind of what you had in store for your labs. Did a little bit of practice with those. Met some great people in the community that you've built up over the last couple years here, and kind of just kept grinding it out. Really, I ended up landing my first kind of, I wouldn't call it help desk. They listed it as help desk, but obviously as I got into the role, I figured out that more of it was a little bit more inclined to systems administration. Was doing a lot of group policy updates on a lot of workstations that we were imaging, building out role-based access control for some of those, for some of the clients that we were working with, and doing a lot of just inventory stuff. So very administrative kind of work, which I guess I found my pathway towards the identity and access management side through to all of those skills, kind of fundamentally moving over. I was applying vigorously during this entire time while I was working at this job because I really didn't like it per se, because I just wanted to get into security. I felt very bored. I wanted to be challenged. I felt like I was just kind of breezing through the day. Um, I ended up landing, out of the hundreds of applications that I sent, two different interviews with two different companies with various, kind of like a complete different side of the spectrum. One being more GRC related, and the other one being more identity and access management related. I think initially I was more interested in the GRC for some strange reason. Perhaps it was just, the fancy branding. I don't know. But I ended up landing the IAM role, and I have been able to learn so much since that beginning, that period, since September 2023 it was. Um, I was able to learn kind of a little bit more coding, working with Java specifically in SailPoint Identity IQ, and then moving eventually over to our now SIM team, where I've been able to kind of really go back and dig my roots into Splunk again, which is something I really wanted to do in the beginning. So now being able to do it kind of a little bit faster than I thought I'd be able to do has been very surreal. So uh, honestly, I'm just going to keep going with it.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Thanks, Jalen, and everyone else for going into this. Before I speak on those things everyone just said, right now we have like over 220 people watching. So wherever you're watching from, make sure to send it to someone or whatever the case is. And also, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We're gonna have like a open house at the end where we're gonna look at all the questions that you're having. Everyone on here will be able to answer those questions. But what I really love about what everyone just said now is like, it's very progressional, right? You guys started from somewhere where it was like, you were learning, you were doing or learning basic IT stuff, got some IT experience, and then leverage that to get into cybersecurity. I think, in this day and age, sometimes it's kind of like, there's so much like mixed thoughts and opinion and advice out there about like going from IT to cybersecurity. Some people tell you you don't have to do that. Some people tell you like it's a waste of time, skip the help desk. Some people tell you you must do the help desk before going to cybersecurity. It's like so polarized out there. But I think what is really cool about everyone here is that I think the commonality is that you guys, or some of you, knew that you were going to get into cybersecurity, but you knew it would be beneficial to go in through like a more entry level path, sort of such as IT, and then use it as a stepping stone to cybersecurity. And I think what I want to pull out of that is being realistic about possibilities, opportunities out there, competition, and also like what you can leverage in regards to going from one aspect of technology or IT to then cybersecurity. And I want to dig more into that with every single one here. So I think when everyone here was talking about different things, your cybersecurity experience was very much helped by some of your IT experience, right? So for example, like Jalen, like he has some IAM experience, which led him to doing some IAM work, right? For like Jonathan, he had some sysadmin experience and some other generalist network IT experience that helped you with your security stuff. So each and every one of you, in regards to those like specific skills and experiences that you had during your help desk or support or sysadmin, sort of roles, how did you leverage them in regards to like your resume, and your interviews and all of that stuff to get that cybersecurity job? Let's start with you, Dion.
Well, I would say that my main piece of leverage would be LinkedIn. I treated LinkedIn like it was and I still do to this day, as my personal career journal. Because I mean, it really is. Anybody that goes to my page, they'll see from day one until now what I've been doing and how I've just leveraged myself in different situations. But as far as IT support, really just learning how to problem solve and troubleshoot. Those things go a long way, especially in security. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the main reasons I got my Network Plus cert was because in my particular role at that time with tech support, we were doing a lot of things with VLANs and just telecom in general, which is basic networking. So my advice as far as like certs go and just upskilling, I always try to get a cert that's dealing with your current position. Because I mean, you can't go wrong with that. It's going to help you in your current role. You may even get a promotion, who knows? But either way, you just have to continue to better yourself and take that same mindset into whatever position you're going into or whatever is brought to you. Just make the most out of every situation.
I really love that because I think some people sometimes focus on the next role without looking for ways to improve their current skills. Whereas, if you're able to improve your current skills, you can use that for that next role. I really love that point you made there. Let's move on to David. How did you leverage, your help desk skills and experiences for your resume, interviews, whatever the case may be, to get into cybersecurity?
So the help desk benefited me from numerous angles, right? So number one, always back to that financial. I had money to reinvest into more knowledge, more skills, more certs, try hack me and things of that nature. So financially, it was supporting me to continue to grow. The people, the talking skills, the mouthpiece, the gift of yap was definitely it. You're gonna have to interview eventually, right? So talking to so many people, it was just phone call after phone call after phone call. I mean, I kind of already had social skills from like being a Taco Bell manager, going to the Marine Corps, being a personal trainer, yada yada yada. But I guess I got more comfortable in a IT context. Like it didn't matter who I picked up the phone with. Like I'd immediately hear their tone, their slang, their accent, whatever, and it's like immediate code switch, how to vibe and get them to joke, laugh, because these are irritated, irate people, right? Like something's not working, there's some type of problem, but I also don't want them to be combative at me and just like kind of give them that comfort that, hey man, we're gonna work through this together. I got this. I'm the pro. We're gonna solve this. Everything's gonna be good. And generally they immediately got, I guess, disarmed and became much more cooperative. But so I talked about finance, I talked about the social skills, of course, the technical skills of just being a Windows power user. This is going to be varying degrees for different people, but I think everyone here is kind of a go-getter. We take initiative. So we probably not maximize, but we definitely benefited from just having access to Active Directory, access to Azure, access to doing all types of administrative things. Not to call anything out, but I think this is a lot of companies, a lot of help desks is sometimes overprivileged. So you also get to tinker a little bit and maybe do things that typical help desk probably shouldn't be doing, but that's neither here nor there. Money, social skills, finance. I guess I'll finish it off with the last thing was when I was catering my resume to achieve interviews. And even when I got the phone screen, it was a marketing effort, right? So even though I'm doing very typical help desks, I try to teach people this too with writing their resumes. You need to speak the language of who you're trying to market to and attract. So for example, I could say I just did the password reset with users, but that's super boring from an IT support context. I'm trying to sell it, spin it, twist it to appease to a hiring manager or a recruiter who's trying to hire for a cybersecurity analyst position or whatnot. So in what ways did my IT job practice, execute, relate to anything with cybersecurity. Easy off the top of your head, CIA triad. Well, I pick up the phone. Hello, this is David, IT support, blah, blah, blah. How can I help you today? Hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. I need help with my password. Well, first things first is confidentiality and trust but verify. So we talked a little bit about CIA triad. We talked a little bit about zero trust just from a phone call for a password. Like, so I'm going to berate you and interrogate you to basically pull from you whatever type of PII, whatever type of sensitive information, so that I get the warm fuzzies that this is genuinely you are who you claim you are, even if you're a C-suite. And if my manager gets yelled at, well, I have very good solid standards and frameworks and best practices to show them why, hey, I'm not being a douchebag, but I'm doing my job and trying to in the best interest of the company overall, especially with so many attack vectors, so many recent attacks having gone through the help desk. But do you guys see how I spun that in the fashion of I did cybersecurity work and practices and psychologies and methodologies all while I was still at IT help desk. So that was 4 points. I think that was the bulk of what I got out of IT help desk.
Yeah, that was 4 points in 4 minutes, so 1 minute per point. Not bad. Let's go to you, Jonathan. So you had more of a very generalist experience, like sysadmin, networking, IT, all of that. How did you leverage all of that for working in cybersecurity? Because I know that a lot of like networking knowledge or like systems knowledge like is super important, like when you're dealing with like cybersecurity stuff. So what was that for you?
Yeah, so David kind of touched on this a little bit also, but IT and cybersecurity, they go hand in hand. They're not combative, they're not rivals, they are complementary departments that really support the business, right? And when you're working in IT, there's always some type of security component there. And so you're able to be exposed to all the different devices or systems that can be utilized in the security space as well. So just by utilizing and knowing how to use that tool, Active Directory, DNS, or that firewall that you have to configure out there, you're able to, not just from a systems side of things, you can actually just transfer all that knowledge. Like, okay, well, this is how we configure the thing in cybersecurity, right? There's going to be misconfigurations all the time, or maybe something that you can harden to make it a little bit more secure, that sort of stuff. That's a configuration change. That's an IT function, but it's just from a different mindset or a different perspective that you're looking at that method or topic, and you're approaching it differently. Instead of hands-on configuration, you're thinking about policies and procedures of how to make things more secure, that sort of stuff. Also, just really quick, Dion and David also touched on this a little bit, but communication skills are hugely important. In high school, worked retail job, customer service, and that kind of really helped me get in the door in the help desk. Honestly, being able to communicate or talk to people on the phone or over email is a skill, and being able to effectively communicate to anyone, whether they're highly technical or someone in accounting that just punches in numbers all day. They're not going to understand exactly what Active Directory or organizational unit or whatever they're a part of, but they know they have a login. Being able to communicate those aspects to them is going to be really highly important. And one thing that you can do to practice this skill of communication or improve on the skill is find something that you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be tech related. It could just be like in college, I did a podcast on a video game, right? I was passionate about the video game. I had a buddy of mine. We talked about it every week for 30 minutes to an hour. We released an episode. We were passionate about that. And we both came to this realization of, because we talked about this every week, our communication skills in our careers really improved because we were able to put together better, more cohesive thoughts and actually communicate and mesh really well together. So that's something that is, I think, a lot of people talk about or find is undervalued a lot, especially in the tech space.
Yeah, I love that, the folks who have shared so far really emphasize communication, because I think it's also something that is like sometimes undersold in terms of like skills required in cybersecurity and everything. Like now more than ever, as a someone who works in incident response, detection engineering, I find that my communication skills are extremely crucial, whether like written or spoken, in regards to like helping like dilute information to non-technical folks, or even technical folks on the same level as you or above you, in terms of like leadership and skills and all of that. So I think it's really crucial. What about you, Courtney? Like, what were the things you did to leverage your IT experience and even maybe your GRC experience in regarding to working now in your specific cybersecurity role?
Yeah, definitely piggybacking from everyone has spoke highly on communication. I felt like that was definitely one of my strong suits because, for one, being able to explain things, um, the conversations that I was having with family members or just someone who didn't really know much about IT or cybersecurity, explaining it to the point where they're able to understand and breaking it down allowed me to basically take the information that I was learning on the job. Like, as we know, documentation is definitely important, is one of the most important things. And applying that same communication skills that I have socially, and then taking it and applying it to my the job duties that I was actually doing has definitely helped a lot. Um, Technically, as far as the technical skills, when it comes down to um, understanding the foundations of like definitely for me the foundations of cybersecurity when it regards to like integrity or confidential, keeping the information confidential, that has definitely um, allowed me to be more open-minded as a SOC analyst. Taking the opportunity to be a SOC analyst and using the communication skills, applying documentation has definitely allowed me to open up my mind towards um, different tools and then as well as what's out there. I think pretty much everyone from the panel has said literally some of the skills that they have leveraged and I did as well. So just wanted to speak towards communication and documentation has definitely helped.
Yeah, I love that you spoke on documentation, because that's another really important thing, whether like it's help desk or like you're
Mhm.
working as a psych analyst or an engineer, like you could go into places and you could find that documentation is just really horrible and there are no processes. That's actually an opportunity for you to like add,
Yeah.
value, as in maybe a new hire or someone who's looking to grow in regards to like writing out processes or creating processes for things that didn't exist. So I think documentation is super important, and that is also a component of communication in regards to written communication. Like you have to be able to express your thoughts technically in a written format in a way that's understandable by people who are your teammates, right? And of course, if you're doing incident response, written communication is important. If you're writing a report that's going to go to leadership or going to go to whoever the case may be, like communicating what happened and distilling it in a way that is both technical and also applies to the business is going to be important. So I think that was a good point you touched on there, Courtney. What about you, Jalen? What about what were the things you leveraged, the skills, or how did you leverage the skills you had from help desk in regards to interviewing, or your resume, or just getting into cybersecurity?
So a really good point that everyone made is just, that documentation aspect. But what I'd make point is that especially when you're starting in help desk, and I know that folks that start in help desk are obviously wanting to get into security at some point. Um, what really helped me is kind of figuring out and learning to identify what were those transferable skills. So let's say you're doing something in systems administration. Let's say it's identity access management in my case, where you're doing RBAC with users, you're helping with those password resets. You're obviously doing a fundamental cybersecurity duty, right? So for me, having someone else kind of taking a look at those aspects and saying, hey, you're already doing security. You just have to work on how you present what your current skills, your current your current job duties are, and being able to talk about those things with a security mindset. And so for me, that was me going to my resume and catering everything so that everything that I was doing was really focused on that IAM aspect, right? So I was looking into getting into IAM. I wanted to make sure that I covered those things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis that spoke heavily to that particular thing. So during the interview process, when they ask me questions, I'm able to kind of talk passionately about the things that I was doing, and then also doing projects on the side as well. So doing those home labs, being curious about technology, not just kind of doing it on a day to day. You have to have some sort of passion. Obviously, we're here to make money. We're not here doing this for free. Uh, but having some sort of passion and curiosity to kind of branch out and learn different aspects of security, whether it's network security, whether it's identity access management, whether it's, if you want to get into working in a SOC and learning how to investigate logs, all of these aspects are going to require some sort of passion to kind of going out and doing it, because these things you're going to have to do on your own. You're not going to have someone teaching you or holding your hand most of the time. So with that aspect, people made some really good points earlier about communication. I had a customer service background for the most part. So day to day, seeing all sorts of types of people, from tourists to locals, being willing to speak up, and asking and engaging questions, not just kind of doing it so that you kind of get through it, but being interested in what they're talking about and showing some sort of interest in what you're talking about really goes a long way as far as how you're communicating. So especially during the interviews, companies are really not looking for robots. They're looking for some people that are interested in the role. They're interested in making the company successful, and they want to know you're going to enjoy the job. So making sure you have some sort of personality is really going to go hand in hand. Especially, I mean, you can have all the skills in the world, but if they don't have any ability to talk to you, they're not going to be interested in moving you along the process. Utilize LinkedIn, build your brand, talk about the things you're doing, get involved with communities, reach out to people, introduce yourself, because you could be doing all these things in the background. No one's going to be able to know who you are if you're not talking about it. So that's another really huge aspect, is just making sure you're communicating, just like everybody said, but that's just another way to explain it.
Yeah, thanks for going into that, Jailing. I think the extra thing you mentioned was that personal branding aspect of things. I think, building your personal brand is like probably one of the most important things you can do for your career in this day and age, right? Like you said, if you're doing stuff, you're building things, you're learning things, and no one really knows, it's kind of hard for people to like find you, except you're like really, really exceptional at what you do. And you just don't really care to put yourself out there. And I don't want people to think that they have to be full-blown influencers or like, full-blown content creators making like crazy productions for them to get hired. No, you don't have to do that. It could just be a blog. Like you don't have to like, make videos. You don't have to, do all these elaborate things. It could just be like a blog documenting what you're doing. It could be your GitHub profile. It's like as long as you're sharing what you're doing, what you're learning, putting yourself out there, you're basically adding more to that pot, to that like connector for yourself, to that digital footprint for yourself, making it easier for recruiters to identify you, making it easier for hiring managers to identify you, and people to take a chance on you based off of what skills you have and the experience you have. Now, before I continue on in this section, right now we're talking about skills, education, technologies. I have one more question for that. Before I go into that, I have two things I want to do. First, we have over 400 people right now across like various platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Twitter watching right now. So if you're on here, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to comment, whatever the case is, but please like it on whatever platform you're on, share it, all of that stuff, so we can get more people on here. This is being recorded, so it would be available after the show, but definitely, spread the word out there. Second thing I want to do is I want to add a quick screen here so that we can kind of track on time, because I want to make sure this is valuable for everybody. And I want to ask a rapid fire question here in a second. Let's see. Let me sort this thing out. All right. I want to ask a rapid fire question, and I want everyone to get a chance to answer this question. I think this is one of the biggest questions people typically ask, and it's about education, certifications, training, all of that stuff. And I want everyone to get a chance to answer this question, but also in the interest of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody like 2 minutes to give me like shotgun rapid fire training, certification, education, book, your opinions on that, right? So everything certifications, whatever you took, whatever you recommend, training as well, if college was part of your experience and if you recommend it, boot camps, whatever the case is. So everything you can think of in regards to training, certifications that you can possibly mention in 2 minutes. I want each and every one of you to do that. And I'm going to start with Dion. You can go first.
All right. So rapid fire. Basically, I'm self-taught. I don't have a degree in computer science or anything of that nature. So my best advice would be you're going to get out of it what you put in. When I was in IT support, most of my mornings, before I clocked in, I was studying for a cert or just trying to learn. Even once I clocked out, I'm still in front of my computer screen trying to learn. Of course, it takes a balance. Don't get drunk and work, I guess I could say. But that's probably my best advice. Just you get what you put into it, and don't get discouraged. It's gonna take patience. So
Yeah. So do you want to highlight like specific certifications or trainings or educations that you thought were specifically valuable for that transition from Helpdesk to cybersecurity?
sure. So I did a lot of Jason Dion, Security Plus studying, Network Plus studying. I didn't do A Plus because I felt like it came pretty natural. But you may be somebody that needs that. But again, so Jason Dion, Professor Messer, those are like the basic for foundational skills. So those are the two that I used when I first was coming up. So
Cool. Was there any sort of education, like college or boot camp or anything like that that helped in that at all?
all self-taught. Like I have a
Yeah.
degree, but it's not computer related. So literally from 2021 until now, I've been pretty much teaching myself and just doing online courses like Jason Dion and Professor Messer and just whatever particular like technology that I'm trying to learn. I try to find the top course for that and go from there. But yeah, I don't have a degree in computer science or cybersecurity.
Perfect. Thanks for going into that. And I like that you specify you don't necessarily have a degree or need a degree for this. What about you, David? Like everything, training, labs, certifications, college, whatever it is, you got 2 minutes. Let's go.
So first things first is everybody's path is going to be different because some different people in different situations can't apply what I'm recommending. But so one point. Second point is it's competition and it's marketing. It's ruthless out here. It's difficult. So the more things you do right, the higher you're increasing your odds, your chances, your probability. Okay, so we have the networking, we have the degree, we have the certs, we have the social media, which is kind of following under networking. We have the home labs projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, to the above question, do all of it. Obviously, you have time constraints, you have money constraints, you have energy constraints. This is difficult where you have to start to prioritize and maybe probably pick and choose. Myself, I just kind of brute force and I went really hard with the certs. That was my choice, my path. I picked mostly a CompTIA. Fair notice, CompTIA is mostly conceptual. So with that being said, I also recognized I had no hands-on skills. So I also had to learn something, how to do actually something that, I'm getting paid for what I can do. I'm not getting paid just for what I know. And the biggest thing for me there was the security blue team level 1. Of course, there's other platforms, subscriptions, there's other hands-on technical certs, but that's what I chose at that time. As for more about certifications, different certifications mean different things for different people at different times in your career. So, for example, let's say I didn't have the CompTIA A+ right now for where I am in my career. I'm already working cybersecurity. Would I recommend it for me? Heck no, because I'm already working cybersecurity, blah, 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 blah. But in the very beginning, I was concerned about clout and visibility and keywords. So that's a good example of what I mean by it means different things for different people at different times. Do more.
Perfect. Just right on the clock. All right, perfect. So what about you, Jonathan? Everything you can share in regards to like training, certifications, college boot camps, whatever the case may be, even if it's self-taught, whatever it is, like what are your recommendations? What helped you?
Absolutely. So I went to college and my degrees for management information systems, which is a management degree. And I didn't like that at all. That's why I did the internship throughout college with the hands-on IT experience. I will tell everybody I know I learned more in the internship than I did in actual college for what I ended up doing and what I want to do. But that also helped me understand that everybody's going to be learning different, or just so being able to identify what works for you in terms of how you learn can really help shape the path that you take. So for me, it was the hands-on training labs, things like for the security related stuff, it was the Hack Me and the Security Blue Team. I've done Security Blue Team level 1 and 2. And I loved all of it, right? Because it's hands-on labs, you're working on the thing and you get to do something. But before that, it was, all stuff that I would have had access to, like a Pluralsight or Cybrary, where it's all video-based content. There weren't a lot of labs at the time when I was learning, but that's where I learned a lot of the networking fundamentals that I was able to utilize in my internships and my jobs. Based on just the video content. And then as I decided to step further into cybersecurity, I realized I needed more doing than reading or watching. So that's where I found the Hack Me. Specifically, that's what really launched me into cybersecurity. It helped me land my full-time, like fully security operations role. And I was able to lean on that training that I had experienced there. I didn't go the CompTIA route. The only CompTIA cert I have is CYSA Plus, and I took that after Security Blue Team level 1. So yeah, that was my path.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for sharing that. I think one thing we can agree to in regards to everyone else is, like, I think David's point summed it all up in terms of different certifications mean different things to different people at different points in their career. So for example, like Jonathan, he never did the A plus, never plus, a security plus, but he got the CYSA plus. He had some experience doing all this IT stuff and all that stuff. So like, probably wasn't necessary for him, right? For example, like, David did those computer certifications, but eventually ended up in the same point. What I want to draw there is like, we're all headed in the same direction, right? It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to have a specific exact path to go through. You don't have to always do these certifications. You don't have to always do XYZ, but as long as you can frame those things you're doing in regards to where you want to get to, is all that is important, right? It could be a mixture of different things. It could be the exact same path, but you don't have to be so dogmatic about what you're specifically going to be doing because someone said you should do that. So I think that's one thing we can glean from there. What about you, Courtney? What do you have in regards to like anything, training, certifications, college, education, all that stuff?
Yeah, since I am a career changer, coming in from the beginning, I've definitely have been able to obtain one cert so far, and it has definitely opened up so many doors for me. Like everyone has said, depending on what path you really want to go into, the most important thing is tailoring to the correct path, whether it's getting more education that is free or taking something that is accredited. For me, it was all about being in the right place at the right time, and what that came down to me networking. So, like in the beginning, I told you, like starting with Twitter, formerly Twitter, X. I was on there, I was speaking to people, and I decided, okay, didn't necessarily want to go back to school, but how do I, make my transition? So I ended up joining O-Line Security. With that was the boot camp that I spoke about as far as Security Plus. And then going from there, that helped with the help desk role, and then also with transitioning into SOC analyst. And then also one of the other things is finding a mentor. Biggest thing is when it comes down to finding a mentor, you're able to ask your questions. They're basically going to direct you and guide you. They're going to talk about the mistakes that they've had, what they learned. So it helps you along the way as far as what you really want to do. I've always recommend people to join groups, whether if it's going to conferences, talks, listening in, because then you get to understand what's out there, what different technologies are out there and who to actually speak to. And another big thing is project showcasing. That's one of the things that I definitely speak about towards my resume, and going from there. The certification that I'm working on currently is Blue Team Level 1, and it's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. I've never actually even spoken about online security on here. I'm generally familiar with Toby. He's a great guy. Knows a lot about Splunk. So, yeah, glad you gave him a shout out. Also, Kenneth as well with ECA as well. So
Definitely.
yeah, those are great options as well. But yeah, thanks for going into that. I'm going to talk about BTL1 and try hack me after Jalen goes. I want to give Jalen also an opportunity to share what are your what were your go-to resources in regards to like education, training yourself, upscaling in regards to learning cybersecurity, whether it was certifications, college, labs, whatever case it was. What was that for you?
Okay, yeah. So I don't have a formal degree. The only, I guess you could call it technical school. Like I said earlier, I went through a boot camp that was about 10 months long that kind of took us through a very good range of topics that related to security. It didn't include any sort of certifications. So this would be kind of where that situation where I'd say if I were to recommend a boot camp, I probably wouldn't. You have to be extremely selective about them because they're not all created equal. And a lot of them are quite literally just money grabs, if I had to be real. If you were starting from the bottom, I would say if you don't have any experience with computers at all, definitely CompTIA is a great place to start with the A plus. I didn't specifically start with the A plus or the Network plus. In fact, um, probably a bit of a unicorn situation where where I landed where I am today without actually having any of the CompTIA certs or really any reputable cert at all. I ended up getting most of my certs after I started, so not a realistic way to go about it. I wouldn't say that that's going to work for everyone else. But definitely the more you do is always going to be better, especially considering how competitive this market is right now. It's far worse now than it was last year or the year before. It's definitely not as easy. It's not as sweet. So I would recommend right now, if you really want to get into security, a great fundamental cert to get is the Security Plus. I know a lot of people talk about that one. It's the hyped up one, but it's a great fundamental cert to have. Even if you're interested in GovTech, they want it at the very minimum anyway. So that's a good one to get. Then also just kind of focus on what interests you. So if like for me with my Splunk path, if you're interested in, if you're working in a security operations center, or if you're working in or some sort of security engineering, you can kind of focus in on a tool to really go in, learn the tool, become the expert, the subject matter expert, getting those certifications in that tool, and then demonstrating it with those labs on your resume, or if you're blogging about them on LinkedIn, that'll do a lot more for you than just focusing in on cert stacking, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, thanks for going into that, Jalen, and thanks everyone for keeping the time there. I really wanted to like get everyone's like sort of experience with like labs and all of that, and I think each and every one of you has done a good job of sharing that. I wanted to pick on some things that everyone kind of mentioned, or a couple people kind of mentioned. You guys know I am a Security Blue Team fanboy. I took their certification like a couple years ago. Never been sponsored by them. Don't care to be sponsored by them anymore. But I would say that that certification was like one of the pioneers for like practical security, like operations, incident response sort of stuff. I think INE was like a earlier pioneer, but like Security Blue Team really took that to the next level. And I love the Blue Team one. I still recommend it to this day. There are other ones out there like the CDSA, like the CCD, that are great as well. I don't even like comparing them anymore because they're all just really good. But BTL one was that one for me that I got as the first one I did. And really great training, really great education, like, and gives you that practical experience. Like it takes that security plus knowledge and conceptualizes it. And I think I really like that you guys, all of you, most of you share that practical element to it. As a matter of fact, all of you share the practical element to it. Like it's not just about the conceptual knowledge that you have, it's like the application of that knowledge. So if you're going for training or certifications that are going to teach you something, you want to have a combination of both, or maybe lean more towards the ones that are a lot more practical, because those help you build skill. And again, another thing was like, you all mentioned how you all have different paths essentially, right? But I like the fact that those paths somewhat brought you to somewhere around the same destination. And I think that destination is cybersecurity. Of course, cybersecurity leads you into so many different things, but you all ended up in cybersecurity, and that was from different paths. Like that was different certifications, that was different methodologies. I'm also sure pretty different time frames and timelines as well, but you ultimately ended up in cybersecurity, which I think is the very important thing. Before I go on, where we're at right now in this section is we've talked about everything from their skills and their backgrounds and all that. We've got a couple more things to go over, but right now we're ranging between like 490 and 500 people between LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So thank you everyone who's here. Please feel free to ask questions. If you have any questions, put it in there. We'll answer them at the end of it. But also, please be sure to like. If you're not subscribed, also subscribe, and also share for people to be able to find this and come in here as well. Now we've got a couple more things to go over. I want to go over like challenges you've gone over, and then also some day-to-day stuff, career growth, networking, and then some general advice, and then we'll open up the floor to the audience. So bear with me here. So let's go into like challenges, right? I'm pretty sure I can personally tell you getting into cybersecurity was probably one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. Like just studying and learning skills and even upscaling was one of the hardest things I did in my life. But I think it taught me a lot of skills in regards to like perseverance, consistency, and just really a lot of things I can't even go into. So I want to ask each and every one of you, what were the challenges you faced when you were trying to transition from help desk to cybersecurity? Like, was it like time constraints? Was it like, learning things? Was it like getting jobs? Like, what were those challenges and how did you overcome those challenges? Because a lot of people out there are facing different challenges when it comes to their transition. And I really want you all to share what challenges you faced and how you overcame those challenges. I think in the process of overcoming those challenges, there's a lot that people can learn there. So let's start with you, Dion. What were some challenges you faced when you're transitioning and how did you overcome those challenges?
So I would say one of my biggest challenges was just staying patient. It could get very mind-boggling when you're trying to do your current job, but you're like, I don't really want to be here, but you're still trying to give it your best and you're all, you always just got to keep that goal in mind. Like, you're here now, make the best of it, get the experience, because who knows, this experience that you're getting now could help you in your next role. So I would say that was probably my biggest challenge, just being patient and just always keeping that tunnel vision on what I was really trying to do when I took a foot into this industry. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like it takes some time like to get in there. And definitely it could be a little bit discouraging when you're not really seeing results, but patience is extremely important eventually in regards to getting to that end goal. What about you, David? What were some challenges you faced and how did you overcome those challenges? And what did you learn from that?
Maybe my life is just on hard mode, and maybe that's because I picked the Marine Corps. I don't know, but I felt like I experienced a overwhelming amount of challenges and setbacks. So just getting the interview was freaking hard, which I get. How did I combat that? I got more certs. I kept up with LinkedIn. I applied more. Like there's only so much I could control. So really, in a way, it was like just brute force for getting the interview. When I got a phone call, I still got like punched in the gut with, oh, you don't have enough experience. Oh, you don't have anything cyber. Oh, that's just IT support. It's like, dude, I'm freaking trying here. That's why I'm working the IT support. That's why I'm getting the certs. Let's say I make it to the next round interview. Then it's like trying to super convince that the stuff from the certs is relevant and I actually can do the job. It just felt like never ending. One obstacle, I did something to combat it, and then the next obstacle, it's like I just thought I finished that obstacle, and now you're throwing another one. Like it like seems like it never ended, and that part was frustrating because a big thing that people struggle with is, oh, you don't have the experience. Guys, you're still gonna run into that once you have experience. Like trying to job hop or trying to get a second job or whatever, trying to move up vertical, lateral, whatever, they're still telling me I don't have enough experience. I have 16 certs right now, and it's still hard to get an interview. So it's that to a degree, you can really only maximize and control what you can control, which kind of goes hand in hand with the patience that Dion was talking about. I'm saying it more from the angle of mental health, mental discipline, like understand and expect that this is gonna suck. It's gonna suck. Rejection sucks. Rejection hurts. It specifically hurt me because of the financial pressures. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys that there's not times where it's like I'm crying and having dang near like stress and anxiety, not attacks, but do I feel the anxiety? I feel the anxiety of like, where am I going to get this money if I don't get this next role? Like it sucked. It really sucked. So prepare yourself. Maybe I pray that your journey is less troubled waters than mine. But to be realistic, you see it on LinkedIn, tons of people are in very similar situations and they're experiencing all types of obstacles. And so, I mean, I've seen people with master's degrees and they're trying to get into cyber and they've been trying for 2 years, master's degrees, guys. So like, know ahead of time that, it could be a very long, hard, strenuous journey, which is another reason why network, pay attention to other people's success stories to try to extract and again, do as much right stuff as possible to increase your chances. And I pray that, you guys get in relatively quickly, easily, smoothly. And I think that is really it for me with the biggest obstacles and things I learned from it.
Yeah, amen to that. And I definitely like resonate with that. I was like in a very really bad mental state like when I was trying to get cybersecurity, and I was only like but barely 18. I was a college freshman, but like this was a really horrible period of my life. Also, when that pandemic was happening, it was just like everything was just going downhill. I failed my first certification. I failed my second certification. I failed. So it was the A+ core 1 and core 2. So it was just like bad stuff happening. Like I wouldn't get interviews. I wouldn't like if I got an interview, I wouldn't get the job, or I would just get ghosted. I would apply and I would just get rejections. But I think like I've learned so much from that period of like just like perseverance. Like these days, if I interview for a job or if I get like ghosted or anything, I it doesn't bother me as much. Like, well, now obviously like I'm in a different position now where I feel like I'm no longer trying to get into the industry, but like I feel like the mental fortitude and just like all of that rejection I faced back then helps me now where I'm like, you know what? Screw that. Like if you're not gonna give me a job, I'm gonna get better at what I do, that I make you look stupid for not hiring me. And I've done that countless times over and over. So I'm driven somewhat by like like a positive revenge, and also somewhat by just like that mental fortitude I have to always get better and to not let rejection get to me. And I think it's something that I've learned a lot and overcome in my journey of cybersecurity. So I really like that you highlighted that, David. What about you, Jonathan? What were some challenges you faced? And how did you overcome them and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I think determination is a huge factor. But also, one of the biggest challenges I had was filtering down what I was interested in, because getting fresh eyes on cybersecurity, there's so many things and so much of it sounds super awesome, and it is. But just actually trying to pick something and run with it instead of having that mile wide, inch deep knowledge, looking at the inch wide, mile deep path, it can be really scary. But that's where you find a lot of more challenges that might not necessarily come up at the very beginning. And being able to find those specific interests at first can really, I think, help force you into a position where you become somewhat of an expert in that sort of thing, right? So like coming from sysadmin to security operations engineer, that security role was with web security, right? So things from the internet. If you put an EDR alert in front of me 4 years ago, I would fail a lot more than I do now. But at that same time, you put a web security like cross-site scripting in front of me, I would be able to pick it up because I had that knowledge, that deep knowledge and expertise in that one specific aspect of cybersecurity, because I decided to dedicate and pursue that particular niche. So instead of keeping everything extremely broad, finding the path that I wanted to pursue at that moment in time and just run with it, because once you get that knowledge, right, you can shift your focus to something else that might interest you, and then you start from the top and then go back down again and become the expert in that particular field, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I did security blue team level 2, right? Because I was interested in threat hunting, and it had a threat hunting component, right? It's not something I had been exposed to. I had heard about it, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I started to learn, and that's kind of like where my trajectory took me. So yeah, it's just understanding that cybersecurity is so broad. Don't try to drink from the fire hose, just find that little sip of tea that you really like and then go for it.
Yeah, I love that, Jonathan. I think one of the biggest traps that beginners fall into is like just being like, cybersecurity, I want to learn everything. I want to learn pen testing, I want to learn threat hunting, I want to learn malware analysis, and they're learning all these things at once and not really getting good at anything at all, or even able to identify something that they want to stick with long enough. And I think once you have that like overwhelming amount of like choices to make, it just cripples you sometimes. You have like analysis paralysis, like, and you just don't end up getting good at anything, and that stunts your journey or slows it down. But I think, like you said, like, you could pick something, get really deep into it. Some people even build entire careers out of like web security, right? So like it could lead you down that career path, or it could help you in the future. But I think sticking to things long enough to get good at them is definitely something that beginners should try to get good at, because sometimes you find yourself in job roles where you're very new to the technology, very new to the stack, never had any experience with it, but you need to build like deep expertise in it as soon as possible so you can start working on it. I had a similar experience in my last role at Datadog where I had to, learn Google Cloud and build out detections for Google Cloud. I'd never worked with Google Cloud in my entire life, never touched it before. But being able to like sit down and really like dig deep into a technology and understand it well enough to do things is going to be important. And you need to start building those habits from when you just started out in the industry. So I really like that you touched on that, Jonathan. What about you, Courtney? What were some challenges you faced? How did you overcome them? And what did you learn from those challenges?
Yeah, definitely dealing with life challenges, like personal things. Trying to find the time. I think around that time too, I moved to Florida. I was in a brand new state, brand new, everything was new. New career, new state, new environment, trying to make a foundation for myself, like socially and everything. And that was very hard. And then taking that when I was at the my help desk role, it was very busy. So like trying to find the time literally after work, trying to study or do labs, it was difficult for me because I had to um, I had to basically find a routine that was best for me and stick to it, because at the end of the day, when you are trying to learn something, it's all about consistency. Consistent with finding what best works for you and going from there. So I definitely say when it comes down to your study methods or hopping into something that is different, give yourself grace, give yourself a pat on the back, because at the end of the day, consistently as we go through life, there are going to be life challenges that happens, and you always have to remember, okay, how do I combat with my mental health or physical health, and making sure that you tie that down to your routine as well. Like, don't think that you always have to go hard and you forget about yourself, because at the end of the day, you are your own vehicle. You are just like how you treat your car. You do oil changes, you change your tires, do that for yourself as well. So when it comes down to challenges, um, find a way what's going to be best for you and then work through them. And
Yeah, I
that's what I
love that.
definitely found. Yeah, definitely found as far as, like, the motivation and grit after a while once I found a routine.
Yeah, I love that. And I love your transparency, transparency in regards to that, Courtney. I think that it's very easy to lose yourself in something that you're new to, especially when it comes to like education and cybersecurity. Like I think all of us, when we got bit by that cybersecurity bug, it was like our entire lives. Like we were just like focused on this thing, and it's so easy to like forget everything else around you. I remember myself like when I was still, when I was still learning and getting into cybersecurity and all that stuff, I definitely let a lot of things like just go. I definitely sacrificed my physical health, my mental health. I had to, go through therapy afterwards. Going into the gym afterwards. Now I'm not gonna say like I was successful, but I suffered. My body suffered a lot. My mind suffered a lot. I think sometimes in the beginning it's harder to like see that happening. It's harder to like prioritize that because you're so focused on like survival and so focused on like trying to get in or get this job or transition that you can't really think about anything else. And I think sometimes just being aware of the fact that you might be so just like locked in could not might sometimes be a bit of a disadvantage. Of course, definitely spend a lot of time focusing on what you're doing, but just take some time to like take care of yourself every now and then. Of course, I don't necessarily subscribe to like going crazy or like doing unnecessary things when you're in the process of a journey. Like, but you should take some time every now and then to like just look after yourself, like go outside, touch grass. I touch grass a lot more these days. But it's really important to like make sure that you're not neglecting your physical and mental health. And I think to what you said, Courtney, like if you have a routine, you could tie that into that. Like you could, like every day you wake up, go to the gym, work out, come back, study, do work, whatever the case is. And that kind of helps you keep a structure. I think one of the things I also learned was building that structure around my day so that I have enough time for what I need to do. It might mean sometimes you might have to reduce, like, say, going to the gym from like 3 hours down to an hour and 30 minutes, but you still get a workout and you still get sweat. You still like take care of yourself physically, right? But you have a lot more time to focus on, your goals of getting into cybersecurity or studying, whatever the case is. So I really like all those things you touched on, Courtney. What about you, Jalen? Like, what were the things that you struggled with? What were those challenges? How did you overcome them? And what did you learn from those challenges and how you overcome them?
Yeah, so Jonathan made a great point earlier about getting started out and then seeing kind of all of the different aspects of security that you can get into. I think I found myself very overwhelmed and not understanding what exactly I wanted to do. It took a little bit of trial and error, and then obviously just kind of doing projects along the lines of maybe things that I thought I'd be interested in, finding out if that was something I could handle doing all day, every day, on a roll. Um, the other challenge initially was, for me, it was like starting over, right? So I came from customer service. I tried my own business for a little while throughout the pandemic and kind of felt like that didn't really go anywhere. So I was at square one again. For me, it was a challenge because I was like walking into a large room where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have the strongest LinkedIn. I hadn't touched my resume in years. I knew that I had Discord because I had been using Discord for other communities, for years prior. So I figured maybe seeing if I could find a server or finding a LinkedIn community or something where I could kind of find those professionals that were doing what I wanted to do, so that I can maybe ask them for questions or find mentorship in them. Um, so initially, building that LinkedIn is something I really didn't want to do. I'm not a super outgoing person. I'm not like someone that feels the need to kind of like feel like I have to have an entourage, so to speak. But it was one of the best things that I did because it allowed me to kind of build a brand. It allowed me to talk to other people that were also trying to, they were on the same journey as me. So I was able to kind of find solace in that, and work through some of those challenges they were working through at the same time. It helped me kind of cope with what I was dealing with and realize that I'm not the only one going through the hardship. It's not, this is really just how it is, and I have to stick it out. I definitely got to a period of time where I thought maybe I made the wrong decision again. Maybe I should stop doing this and go find something else that's maybe easier, so to speak, right? But I'm really happy that I kept going because it's kind of like a diamond in the rough. You're looking for that crown jewel, that treasure, and you're going at it, and you just want to stop. But if you stop, you will never get to it, right? So the opportunity that I found in just continuing on, especially with the role that I have now, just like you spoke about earlier days, just having an opportunity to stick out something for a little while is a really important aspect of getting good at anything, really, because there is no expertise that's going to come from trying to be a jack of all trades, expert of none situation where you're trying to learn Splunk, but you're also trying to do red team, and then you're also trying to learn how to be a network security engineer. It doesn't work. You have to pick something, you have to build a foundation and then branch out later, for the sake of your sanity as well, obviously, because you're going to go insane. Um, but yeah, I think overcoming that was just kind of being coachable. I know that Courtney spoke about mentors earlier, about reaching out to folks and finding someone that can help guide you along. And that was something I did a lot too, as well. Kind of midway through my journey, I found people that were doing what I wanted to do or had a voice, right? And they had an opportunity where I could schedule some time on their calendar, speak with them, and find out, what am I doing? What am I interested in? And they really got me in a mode of kind of like thinking about that niching out situation, where I figured out that definitely stop what I'm doing right now. I'm going too crazy. I'm doing too many things. Focus on one aspect, stick to that, get really good at it, and then market yourself. This is really just a game of marketing, like David said earlier. This is, you're kind of in sales. You're really trying to sell yourself to a company as someone that is going to do the job and get it done right.
Yeah, I love everything that you just outlined, Jailing, especially like the part of like community, networking, and mentorship, right? I think, community is one of the biggest things that I'm also passionate about in regards to cybersecurity. That's why I started, CyberWars Academy, where, everyone here is also in. We're almost 4,000 people now, but it's like something I started when I was like a freshman in college, like just wanted to be a community for people who wanted to, learn about cybersecurity or wanted to help other people who were learning about cybersecurity. And it's turned into so much more now. I think community is really important. Find a place where you can interact with people who are on the same journey as you and also trying to like achieve the same things you're achieving, you want to achieve, or the people who have gone ahead of you and can also guide you in regards to that. I think community helps in regards to that. I think networking and mentorship also kind of go hand in hand in regards to, like, personally, I think I found my mentors through networking, right? Just putting myself out there. I think mentorship is very important, especially when you get started. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of emphasis on like direct mentorship, which is absolutely great. I've had direct mentorship from various people in my careers, like, up until now. I've had like various mentors, whether in the past and currently. So those are super helpful. If you can get one, definitely get one. But also you could get some sort of like indirect mentorship from people you follow online. But definitely try to follow the right people, because there's a lot of like people you should not be following out there. But just, putting yourself out there, community, networking, mentorship. Those are really, 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 really great points. And I like that you touched on that. Real quick before I go into our final point here, because I know it's getting late. We're like going between like 590 and 600 people watching across various platforms. So again, thanks for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe wherever you're coming from, follow, whatever the case is, and share it, just to get the word out there to other people. So we've gone into a lot today. I really appreciate everyone. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your experiences, your journey. I know I had a ton of other questions, but I feel like with all of those questions, a lot of it has been covered in various ways. You all have shared your, perspectives, your experiences, and I want to open up the floor for a more open conversation, open panel, and then we can go into questions in the chat. So this is no longer going to be structured anyway. So I want us to have a conversation in general. So feel free to unmute yourselves. The last thing I want to ask, and I want us to bounce ideas around this, is like, what is your general advice for people who are trying to transition from help desk, tech support, sysadmin into cybersecurity, especially in today's landscape, right? In today's landscape of jobs being harder to get, a lot more competition, a lot of bad advice out there, and AI. So yeah, let's go into it.
I'll go first, and then you guys. I think, like, I see a common theme with people in help desk. They almost cry for help. That like, hey, I feel stuck. I feel stuck. I feel stuck. Well, I think that comes from the expectation that you're only supposed to learn from the job, or the job is supposed to teach you everything. I don't know where the expectation comes from, but the way I look at it is, y'all not going to hold me down. You're not going to throttle me. You're not going to keep me at this. No, that's not what I came here for. I worked too hard just to stop here. No. So we have to embrace, quote unquote, embrace the suck, that it's like, dude, yeah, you're going to have to work. If you can study during work hours without getting in trouble, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. If you can manage your workload and study during work hours, awesome. Otherwise, it is what it is. You're going to be learning after hours, whether it's playing the Udemy video, or YouTube video or Pluralsight video, whatever it is, on your commute to and from work, like myself, whether it's after hours once you get home, kind of similar to what Day said. I had to pull back some of my days. I typically train 5, 6, 7 days a week. Dude, some weeks it was only 3 or 4. I hated it, but I also, this was a serious high priority goal and journey for me. So, I had to shift those priorities around a little bit. So always keep upskilling. don't let them hold you back. Don't let them tell you what you. Side note: sometimes I don't recommend telling your coworkers are not your friends. Sometimes you don't want to tell them. Like I celebrated it. I'm like, hey guys, hey, I just got my blah blah blah, and like you get some shade, you get some haterade vibes. It's just kind of strange. They're like everybody's content, and they're looking at you like, oh, what do you think you're smart or something? You're upskilling. You're getting your certs don't mean nothing. Oh, certs aren't everything. Dude, what the heck? Where is this coming from? Nobody said that. Like, it's either way, it's not one cert, it's the continuous growth and journey and nonstop. But so to summarize, never stop learning, embrace that. You're probably gonna have to put in extra hours on your own time, weekends, after work, etc. Be as optimized as possible, like whether it's the earphones, whether it's the Bluetooth speaker, whatever. Dude, when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm showering, when I'm cooking, stuff is playing. Not every day, but I integrate it. And same thing with the drives, the commutes to and from work. Occasionally I still play music, but for the most part, I'm trying to do something productive, whether it's a Udemy course, things of that nature. So that's my answer is never stop upskilling.
Yeah, 100%. Anyone want to add to that, or buttress that?
You're definitely gonna make time. You make time for what you want to make time for. So at the end of the day, even if it's for 15 to 30 minutes, at least you're doing something. Something is better than nothing. And you have to think about it. You're training your mind to remember the steps. And then, especially when it comes down to something that is dealing with more tools, if you want to learn cloud, if you're working with the SIM, you have to put the time in to learn these things. And when it comes down to your certifications, you have more technical certifications and then practical certifications. And we spoke about Blue Team Level 1, you have the opportunity with working with labs and everything. And when it comes down to learning, we spoke about the fact that cybersecurity is sometimes like drinking from a fire hydrant, and it's overload. You get that overloading feeling. But kind of break it down to where you are building a routine, building a foundational knowledge based on what specific groupings in. Like, say for example, okay, if I want to learn cloud, and then you want to take something that's like more of a basic level cert, like just getting a foundation for cybersecurity, kind of group those together, because then you're not overwhelming your mind trying to learn a bunch of things at one time. Because at the end of the day, we're not robots, we're humans. And that's definitely something that I always preach about.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think Dion had something to say earlier on. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but did you have anything you want to share?
No. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, just kind of piggyback. You could read my mind, I see. But just to piggyback off of what everybody else is saying, view cybersecurity as a big tree. When you're trying to come into the industry, you have different branches on that tree. To find the branch that you feel like is your branch, and then that way you can kind of piggyback off and try to find a roadmap for yourself. And I did want to share this website. It's called roadmap.sh/cyber cyber-security, and I put it in the chat, but that's a good site to do for like road mapping as well. Let's say, like Courtney mentioned, you want to do cloud. It kind of breaks down things that you should like look into and you should learn, but also to do a few more points that everybody kind of hit on. It's competition out here, but really the biggest competition is yourself. Just always look in the mirror and try to better yourself daily. I was watching a video once and it said, as long as you're consistent with like trying to learn something, let's just say for 30 minutes a day, you're already ahead of like 90% of people. So just remember that and don't get distracted by the noise. Like, you might be in help desk now and your manager might come up to you and be like, hey, we think you'll be a good tier 3, but you don't really want to do that. Don't fall into that trap. Stay focused, keep tunnel vision, and see it through. That's kind of my 2 cents on everybody's comments.
Love that. You can go ahead, Jonathan, if you want to go. Oh, sorry. You can go,
My
Jalen.
bad. Yeah,
Jalen.
I'll just add real quick. If you're working help desk already, you're kind of an advantage, right? Because depending on the company you're working for, you might have other departments that you can talk to. I think the best thing you can do is be curious enough to go to those folks, and maybe you find a network engineer, maybe you find a SOC analyst or whatever it is you're interested in. Go talk to them, see if you have an opportunity to shadow them for the day, or see if they can teach you a few things, and kind of just start working your curiosity in that direction. That's a good opportunity for you to kind of get the experience, maybe some hands-on experience if they allow it, to kind of put on your profile, talk about some things you're working on, and really just get in your mind also of writing your goals down. Maybe get a vision board, and kind of outlining exactly where you'd like to see yourself in the next few years. Maybe you could step it out. Each annual year you get XYZ certifications, or maybe down the road you want to get to an XYZ role. Putting it in a format that allows you to remind yourself every day is a great way to put yourself in that situation. You're only going to get there if your mindset is ready for it, because if you're not coaching yourself every day that you're ready to get to that, you'll never get there. So coach yourself every day with your own advice. Have the mental fortitude to kind of just push forward no matter how hard it gets. Eventually you'll get through. It's just you have to be willing to put in that time, because it might take you a year or two, but that's okay too.
Yeah. What about you, Jonathan?
Jalen's reading my mind now. So yeah, I was gonna say something really similar. I mean, if you're already in a help desk role, you have an advantage. Chances are you, whether you know it or not, you've been exposed to some type of cybersecurity practice or project or whatever. Make your desire to be in this industry known to maybe just your manager. If since your coworkers might not necessarily have your best interest in mind, your manager should hopefully be interested in your career progression. Have those check-ins with someone higher up the chain of where your interests lie, and maybe they can help find other people or other departments around you that can help facilitate getting you to where you want to be. That's kind of how I learned and jumped into stuff. Working the help desk, we would have the higher tier technicians configure firewalls for customers. I wanted to be like, hey, that interests me. Can I help? Can I watch? Shadowing really helped a lot, and that kind of approach really helped me find my footing in my career progression. And later on, I was able to have my boss work with me and for me in that aspect as well, because I made my interests known, and they were like, oh, since you're interested in that, go help this other person do this thing, because that's very similar to what you've just expressed interest in. So hopefully you have someone that you can approach with this, and it doesn't have to be an official mentor capacity, but it could just be, hey, I'm interested in this. Can you help me figure out where to go with that?
Yeah, I love that. I think like your manager should be like a great advocate for your career. So definitely that. So for the final section, we're just gonna go over some questions we had in the chat, and then we can call it a wrap for tonight. I don't think we had that many questions, so it should be probably really quick. So first question we have here is from Banished Tactics. What types of projects or practical experience do you do that you could apply to your resume to make yourself kind of stand out from the competition, given every position is asking for 10 years of experience? Anyone want to take that?
I can start off. So it comes back to the marketing of yourself. And when I say marketing, I mean you need to completely stop being selfish and thinking about yourself. Reverse it. Put your foot, put the shoe on the other foot, and put yourself in the perspective of the employer or the role or the hiring manager. So for example, if I wanted to be a GRC analyst, that project is going to look very different than me trying to break in and become a SOC analyst or a security engineer even. So the first thing is identifying what's your target title slash role. Start to research and understand what is important for that role. and then reverse engineer and plan the project that is going to speak or relate as closely as possible, try to imitate as closely as possible what that job actually does, because what you're trying to do is prove that, hey, I have skills that prove that I could do the job, or I'm a good candidate for the job. Let's play along. Cybersecurity analyst or SOC analyst, good to go, right? So it's quite a technical role, lots of triage, investigating, trying to, first level stop the bleeding, so to speak, in terms of, getting bad actors out of your environment, things of that nature, phishing emails, things of that nature, right? Just spark the idea of phishing emails. You can make a lab on phishing emails where we have VMs, you create your Azure environment, you create multiple users. One user is the malicious bad actor, one user is the nice, finance guy. Let's make it more interesting. Let's make 3 people, right? So you have the finance guy who's doing business. You have the company that you do business with. So there's a trust relationship, right? And then you have the third person who is you're the SOC analyst. This is called a business email compromise, BEC, right? The email of the company that you do business with. Remember, you got your finance guy here. We got the business that the other company that they do business with, and then you're in the middle. You're the third guy. You're the SOC analyst. The business that your company does business with, they get pwned. They're now a bad actor. They now email a malicious email to your coworker. Coworker now is pwned because credential harvester, MFA approves, blah, 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 blah. They steal the credentials. They steal the MFA session token. This is getting to be a pretty fun lab, right? And now you, as a SOC analyst, you are investigating the email, the malicious email that they sent. So what was the whole point of the lab? Well, the point of the lab is to prove that I can detect, investigate, and hopefully put a stop to, number 1, a business email compromise scenario, but number 2, phishing emails and malicious emails in general. So do you guys see how that was very catered to the job, which I do understand is also going to be kind of hard if you haven't already done the job. So you're going to have to either get a mentor or do a lot of research about what the job is. But you guys are also lucky this time, 2024, we have so many different labs from so many different reputable people. Honestly, there's more labs to choose from. It's like, dude, pick one and just start doing it. But yeah, that's my long-winded answer, guys.
Yeah.
Kind of like tailoring to that too, because that's a perfect example. Remember where I was saying, as far as like when I started, I was taking those same labs and I was doing like recordings and putting it on LinkedIn. With doing those recordings and having a voiceover of explaining from A to Z of a rundown of what you're doing, it sets things up and it sets the stage for you. So when you are getting into your interview, like the manager may ask you, do you have any experience with labbing? Hey, I do. You can go ahead and look on my LinkedIn page, or even if you created a GitHub or a YouTube channel, put all of the recordings that you're doing onto your on your content page, so then you can refer back to it. And then say, for example, okay, you're in the interview and the manager is asking, okay, where is your examples that you can provide? You can share your screen and basically kind of do a walkthrough. Always when it comes down to the labs, definitely do check as far as which ones may or may not allow you to do like content sharing, because some labs do. You want to make sure you check in with that. But that's like a perfect example that you can provide on your resume to help you be able to stand out, because at the end of the day, you may not have that experience, but if you can talk the talk and explain it, then it betters your chances.
Yeah. Anyone want to add to that?
I'll be really brief. I just want to say that it's taking everything into consideration. It's also somewhat of a small mindset shift in terms of being in Helpdesk. You're very hands-on, technical, break fix, get it done, get it configured, get it out the door. Cybersecurity kind of takes that just one step further into asking, why are we doing it that way? Or why is it set up this way? Why is this person getting that permission? Just having that little tiny mindset shift, excuse me, will really help you frame things into the cybersecurity perspective, and it could help you think of things in a little bit more of a deeper way that could take your experience and moving it into the new, very similar field of cybersecurity.
Love that. All right, we can move on to the next question, and after this, we're gonna have one last question. This question is by Jesus Christ. He's asking, or they're asking, any tips for a reserved guy to get ahead in IT? I feel like being quiet and shy is holding me back while in help desk. Anyone want to speak to that?
Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. At the end of the day, IT and cybersecurity is that you're going to get in uncomfortable stages where you may not know the answer, but you'll end up finding out when it comes down to research. That's something that you definitely have to have a mindset for. If you are hungry enough to get that role or learn a specific tool, you'll do that. So you have to step out of your comfort zone. Most of all, speak to the people that you happen to see on your LinkedIn page or you are following. It's definitely helpful when you do that for yourself.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the more you get used to it.
I'm going to hit this from a tough love standpoint. So to get something you never had, you got to do something you've never done. Step one. Step two, this is just a money, life, success thing in general. We do business, we trade, we make money with people. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, how are you going to get hired if nobody knows who you are? Well, how are you going to get a raise or promotion if nobody knows the great work that you do? So in a way, you do have to kind of embrace a little bit of extroversion, a little bit of social skills. You'll see it consistently that the people who are in upper management or lead or senior positions, a lot of times, they're not the most brilliant, competent person. They might be middle of the middle of the road, but they were able to network and the people in positions of power, they were able to notice them. So you do have to get noticed. So I'm hitting you with this from a different couple of angles of, motivation for money, motivation for growth. And honestly, this is kind of a stoic saying: the cave that you are afraid to enter holds the treasure that you seek. You're a little quiet, you're a little shy. Listen, this is coming from a guy who was overweight all high school, played video games. I had to. You don't have a choice. You're asking this question as if there's a choice. You're going to have to do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. So tough love for you. I hope that helped.
Yeah, I think I definitely relate to that. Like I've never really been one to like put myself out there, but like making videos definitely made me be a lot more I don't want to say extroverted because I'm not really extroverted, but I'm able to communicate. Like I'm introverted, but I don't have issues communicating with people. I'm introverted, but I'm not shy. I'm introverted, but I'm not socially awkward. Like I can have conversations with people. I just might not be as, maybe loud or as eccentric or as outgoing as other people. I'm introverted, but doesn't mean I'm not able to do things or interact with people the way at the level or at the intelligence or at the engagement that an extroverted person can. I think I've built that up just over time. So I think just putting yourself out there, whether it's like, in chats and comments, and then slowly progressing into, talking to meetings, like talking to people that you're not familiar with, all that stuff. It really helps build that. Like this is not me doing this, talking to 5 people right now in front of 718 people right now. I could have never done that before. High school me could have never done that. But it takes time, it takes effort, and it just takes putting yourself out there. It's difficult. Trust me. Like your armpits start sweating buckets. Like your chest starts beating fast when you're trying to talk or do whatever the case is. But over time, you start getting used to it. So yeah, definitely just put yourself out there a bit more. Anyone want to add to that? All right.
I think the last thing was almost also with confidence, because goes back to the marketing. When you do eventually I mean, this is even how you write it during your resume. Very passive language, aspiring, student, things of that nature. It's very passive. It's very, I guess, low self-esteem, low confidence type of vocabulary and of that nature. And then it's going to translate when they call you on the phone, and it's going to translate with your body language, with your posture, with your eye contact, with your voice tonality, with your ums and uhs and hi, my name is David. Are you guys feeling awkward? Like, I just imitated that and you're starting to feel awkward, right? Like, the voice tonality matters. So many of this nonverbal communication matters. And on your topic, you know, being quiet and shy, you can take classes, you can take courses, you can learn a little bit, you can learn a good amount from, I guess, emulating greater, better speakers. There's TED Talks, there's college professors, like there's presidents that just are amazing at capturing attention and amazing at delivering their message in public speaking. Watching it time and time and time and time again, the repetition will eventually build your confidence, and it'll start to just feel like it's just another day. Like, by the way, even in Helpdesk, like the first time I had to go help a C-suite person, I was like, holy crap. I'm walking up the stairs, like physically I'm about to go in their office. I'm like pooping bricks in my pants. But then I'm like, as I'm walking, I'm like, come on, man, this is another monitor that's not popping on. Like, I know this, I've done this at times. I'm going to check the cables. I'm going to check if it's on. I'm going to go into the resolution screen settings, I might have to update drivers, but this is like day in, day out. We've done this before. This is what I train for. This is what you train for. This is what you studied. This is what you went to college, to that boot camp, to the certs. This is, you wanted this. So like, let's get on with it.
Yeah. Confidence can be built through practice. Just like I kind of touched on this just earlier. Find something that you're passionate about and talk about it. It doesn't have to be tech. It doesn't have to be something that you're already uncomfortable going into or talking about. It could be video games. It could be card games. It could be mowing your lawn. It doesn't matter. If it's something that you're passionate about, you have knowledge there already. Go talk about it. And that builds the skill of communicating. It's just like, you know, when you're on a basketball team, right? You're practicing your free throws, you're practicing your 3 points, you're practicing your layups, so that when you're in the game, in the moment, you've had the reps to be confident that you can execute there. So being able to just practice about something that you're comfortable with already can really help accelerate in the tech or career space as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think that really lowers the barrier of entry for people who are trying to get better at that communication. It's like, if you have something you're good at, talk about it. Like, you know, express, your knowledge, and that builds your confidence, and you can apply that. I think a lot of people, I see a lot of comments on my videos, and even people telling me directly, like last week, like 3 or 4 people told me this. They asked me like where I'm originally from, and I was born and raised in Nigeria. Didn't move here until 2016, so I've only been here like 6 or 7 years. So like, I would have never known like you have a perfect American accent. I don't think I do, but they're like, I would have never known. And I'm like, I learned it. Like, I was in high school, like I kind of got bullied for having the African accent, right? But over time, I learned how to speak like Americans. Like, I can confidently tell you, even when I had the accent, I probably had better like vocabulary than some American kids, right? Because I learned English, but I learned English in Nigeria, but I didn't have the American accent. But over time, I built it. Like, now I feel comfortable. I can switch it to the Nigerian accent if I wanted to. But whenever I'm having conversations like this out there, like, I'm just trying to fool all of you guys, right? So, people don't ever believe that, but that helped me build confidence. Like, you just got to keep trying, like, just improving and just being consistent with it helps you get to a point where you're just so confident at it. Like, you don't even remember when you were shy anymore, right? So that's that. I wanted to jump to the final question, and then, we can end this thing. So the last question is from Kevin, and he's asking any tips for people who have gotten the desktop support experience, multiple certifications, and even projects or labs done, but still aren't seeing any interest after applying to jobs. I want Jalen to go into this first, because I know you haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, I actually wanted to really answer this one because, I mean, obviously, all of us have seen over the last 2 years how terrible the market's been. a lot of people will tell you it's kind of a numbers game. I would fine tune it to being a little bit more about the quality of your applications. I've heard time and time again from recruiters that work at large companies that have talked about making sure your resume is actually speaking to the job you're applying to. That's one aspect that you should definitely focus on. So if you're not getting hits from your resume, go back and review, make sure you're hitting the points that they're looking for. That's one aspect. The second aspect is rapid firing the applications. I know people like to talk about, it's a numbers game. I really don't think it's productive to, like, I think that 10 quality applications where you've gone in, you've researched the company, maybe you write a cover letter. I know people don't do that anymore, but sometimes maybe writing a cover letter may help you stand out against the other thousands of applicants that are just kind of just rapid firing LinkedIn or, easy apply, not really putting anything on the application. I've had hits where, I sent out a cover letter talking about what I knew about the company based on my research, and I got an interview the next day. These are things that you can do to fine tune your process, because I think the more quality you put into your applications, the better results you'll get. Other than that, it is very hard, and I understand that, the certifications, the projects, the labs, um, but you just kind of have to keep going. Don't give up. Eventually you will get something. But also, forgot to add, LinkedIn, what I spoke about earlier about that community and reaching out to folks and kind of networking. If you're applying to a company you're interested in, find some people that work for that company, whether it's the hiring manager, somebody working the role. Don't just pick one, go for multiple. Send out your introduction, kind of almost like a cold call in a sense, right? Don't just spam your resume to these people. They're not going to answer you if you do that. It's very annoying. Don't do that, because at the end of the day, they can't always help you the way that you'd like them to help you. So just reach out to those folks that are working the roles that you're interested in, the hiring manager, a couple of other people in the industry, in the departments that you're interested in, and just make yourself known. I think the better visibility you can get, the better chances you have against the stacks of the other thousands of applicants that are applying against you.
Yeah, I really love that, like, really holistic answer. I think I wouldn't have put it any better way. Anyone want to chime into that?
I just want to say really quick, I agree with Jalen. Another thing, look at non-tech companies, like, because nowadays even McDonald's has a cybersecurity or a SOC, so try to just think outside the box. Jalen hit on it because I did that. I actually used the technique that Jalen just mentioned with my current company. I saw that they were local to where I am, and I reached out to some people that were already at the company, and I was like, hey, like, what's some things that you like about your current role? Some things you don't like? Do you like the company? Because it's a two-way street. Yeah, you're trying to get into cybersecurity, but you want to actually love the company you're going to too, So that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. And then one more thing. A lot of companies offer referrals to the employees that are there. So a lot of people are looking to hire, people. So that's just another key to look out for and use. So
I wanted to
Yeah.
piggyback off that, Dion. It goes down in the DMs, guys. So this is not a short term band-aid fix. Like you're building it medium long term. This is why you continue to share your journey. Hey, I'm working on this cert. Hey, I'm working on this project. You post an update, you're doing taking screenshots. Hey, I just got this cert. Hey, I'm working on this. Hey. Me. But you're going to be growing your LinkedIn following over time. By the way, the LinkedIn Premium does not to be a market for it, but I continue to pay for it because I truly do believe it helped me grow my following faster. But then also those, I have a higher bracket for a higher amount in a week for connection requests and also doing random messages to people who I'm not already connected with, specifically recruiters and people who are already working on that cybersecurity team. So it goes down in the DMs, right? So like Jalen said, that where you are cold calling / selling yourself. Again, how are you going to approach that message? I approach it I'm not here to waste your time. Here's what I got. Here's why I'm a good fit. Here's why I'm an asset. I say, hey, by the way, I also like to put the statement of empathy that, like, I don't expect anything from this, because it's kind of an uncomfortable position to be in. Who the heck are you? Why do I care about you? I don't owe you nothing. Yeah, I say that as a statement of empathy. Hey, you know, I'm graciously asking for an internal referral. I know you don't owe me nothing, but here's why I'd be a good fit. Here's why I'm a perfect fit. Here's how and why I'm an asset. I'm already a cybersecurity analyst, certifications, nonstop upskilling, hands-on projects. I've already handled XYZ incidents, alerts, full incident response, breaches, blah, 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 blah. I'm showing that I have the skills for that role. I already have the experiences for that role. It's marketing. It's direct sales, right? But to get to this position, I had to put in work over time, right? Like last year, June of 2022, I had 2,000 followers on LinkedIn. Currently, I have a little over 11,000. It's like it's constantly it's a constant journey, but as you keep up with it, it starts to, it's not going to pay off right away. It probably isn't going to pay off right away, but that's why I say it is a journey, and it's a continued effort. But that ROI, should you stay consistent with it, it will pay back. It will pay off.
Yeah, yeah, great points there, David. Anyone want to add to that? I can add to it. My general thoughts is if you're not getting interviews, your resume is the problem. If you're not getting jobs, your interviewing is the problem. So I think it's like that kind of chain, right? So I think if you're not getting interviews, then definitely need to work on your resume. And I'm not going to go deeper into that. I think everyone has shared like a lot of really great things you can do to your resume. I have videos on my channel where I've talked about that. So definitely like you sound, Kevin, you sound like you have experience, certifications, lab, pretty much the whole package, but you just need to know how to sell yourself on your resume, or like know how to connect with people or reach out for opportunities there. And then when you start getting interviews, if you're not getting jobs, then you have to like work on your interviewing skills, work on like how you're expressing your answers, how you're sharing what you know, and all of your skills and all of that. So I think if you go back into the video and watch the rest of everything that everyone's talking about, you're definitely going to find a lot of insights there into other things that could help you as well. But this has been amazing. Probably the best stream I've ever done. This is the first time I'm getting like almost like 800 people watching simultaneously. It's insane. So thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate you. I really wanted this to be like you all sharing your experiences, your journeys, your challenges, what you faced, and us leveraging this to help people out there who are trying to get into the field. I plan to re-edit this video, make it a lot more compelling and visually appealing beyond the stream. But this stream is going to be available for anyone who wants to watch after this. But again, I want to say thank you to every one of you, Dion, David, Jonathan, Jailing, and Courtney. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your journey, your resources, everything that's helped you get this far. And thank you to the audience as well for engaging, for watching, for sharing, and all of that. It was really, really helpful, I think, to everyone out there, and I think it was also rewarding for each and every one of us here who spent almost 2 hours going over this stuff. So really appreciative of you guys. And yeah, I think I might be organizing another live stream for an entirely different topic sometime in the future, if folks are interested. And yeah, we'll see. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Please stay in the studio, everyone who's here, while I end the stream. But yeah, see you guys. Bye bye.